Namaste, beautiful. Welcome to practice. Today we're going to be covering the Ashtanga closing sequence. So, the reason that I am teaching this as a class is not because I feel that I am the best person to teach Ashtanga in general, but rather because I put this closing sequence into many of my vinyasa practices, and I don't like to teach, especially my advanced classes, such that I am taking quite a bit of time to go over each of the postures or each of the sequences. And so I'm teaching it here so that if I am teaching a full class and I say, okay, let's go into the Ashtanga finishing sequence now, and you're like, I have no idea, then maybe that's why you're here. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into it. I'm going to face this direction because I am. So we would have just finished our wheels and then our forward fold. Oh, so if this is the only thing that you are doing today, it's kind of a weird thing to only be doing, but whatever you can if you want to, I'm sure. It might be difficult though to get into the full expression of some poses, particularly at the end when we go into Padmasana. So, feel out in your body. I recommend doing a warm-up or doing an entire practice before you do this, and also you can do whatever you want, as always. Alright, let's get into it. So you can continue facing in the direction that you're facing. I'm facing this way, honestly, so that my butt's not just in your face. Okay. So we're first go up into shoulder stand. So we're gonna lie back and then we're gonna bring the feet up toward the ceiling. Maybe you need to come up this way a little bit more. Okay. So we want our elbows to be kind of in line with our shoulders here. Our feet are reaching up toward the ceiling, and we're trying to have as straight of a line as we can from our shoulder blades up to the tips of our toes. And we want to be paying attention to our head such that our chin is not tucked in too much. So we're not like going like that. So we have our head, so it's kind of pushing against the floor, and we're looking up at the toes and creating a bit of space in between the chest and the chin. Okay, and so I have heard discrepancies in how long this is held in Ashtanga. I think that traditionally is 25 breaths here. A lot of teachers will do 10. Ashtanga was taught at all three of the teacher trainings that I did, but I have not been to Mysore and I have not taken a Mysore Ashtanga class or teacher training, and I think that is probably where you get the absolute best information, which is again why I'm not teaching it as Ashtanga in general. Okay, so now we're going to come into our plow pose. So maybe I'm going to rotate. So I'm kind of this way. Oh, well, okay. So we're back to our shoulder stand, and so now we're taking our hands, we're interlacing our fingers, and we're bringing our hands down to the floor. If we can place our feet spacing. If we can place our feet all the way down to the floor, then we also want our arms to be on the floor here. And so here we're trying to be pushing up with our hips, right? So pushing up toward the ceiling, trying to keep kind of a flat back, right? So don't want to be like bending too much, right? So we have a nice flat back here, hips are up, and we are enjoying our plow. So again, just I believe it is somewhere between 8 and 10 breaths here, depending on who you ask. I generally do 8. Okay? And so from our plow, then we're going to go ahead and we're going to, after we complete our 8 breaths, we're going to take our knees, we're going to bring them on either side of the ears, ear pressure pose. So we're really putting pressure on the ears here. Yeah? So once I do it, I can't hear anything. Just why I lifted back up again. So we're taking the ears, the knees, bringing them to the ears, and then our feet are together. So let me rotate so now you can see what the feet are doing. Okay, so the feet are completely together here. Yeah, so toes are together, heels are together. And we're really pushing against the ears with the knees. I can't hear anything. And so again, this one, somewhere between 8 and 10 breaths. Usually I feel fine with 8. Okay, once we complete our 8 breaths, then we go back into our shoulder stand. Just for a second, and then from here we take Padmasana. So we take our right leg and we bring it in to the left hip, and then we take our left leg and we bring it into the right hip. And we can use our hands if we want to make it perfect. And then we're taking our hands and we're making contact with our knees. So we're resting our knees on our hands here. And again, we have our butt pushing up toward the ceiling. So we're not like sinking in. And we want our chin to still kind of be away from our chest here. And again, holding for 8 breaths, or maybe 10. And then usually I pull my lotus a bit tighter here, because then we're going to go and we're going to hug the lotus. So again, taking 8 breaths as we're hugging our lotus here. This one just feels really nice, right? So this is fetus. So we should feel like we are just a little baby here. We're comforting ourselves, right? For 8 breaths. And if you don't have lotus, you can be doing this in cross-legged. And also, I encourage you to work toward lotus before going into these deeper positions. Yeah? Okay. And so then from here, we're moving into fish. So we're going to be rolling down, and now I will come and I will face a different direction. Okay. So now we have our lotus here. And now our head is back for fish pose. If you cannot have the lotus, you can have your feet so they are outstretched instead here. So you want to be up on the top of the head if possible. And then we have our hands that are grabbing our feet, straight elbows, and we're looking at our nose. And again, we hold for 8 breaths here. And so this is to counter what we just did, right? So we just had our neck in quite a compromising position, so now we're putting it in a compromising position in the other direction. That's yoga, right? We compromise positions both ways. Oh my goodness. Okay. From here, we are going to straighten our feet, or straighten our legs, and we're going to straighten our arms, and we're going to try and make them parallel. Right, but we can't see what we're doing, so we just have to feel it out. Okay? So we straighten the legs, and we straighten the arms. And then again, we hold it for 8. Although I do want to make sure I'm in the camera. Okay. And holding for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And from here, I need to move again. From there, we're going to come down, and then we're flying back, and we're rolling backwards in Chakrasana. Okay, so we have our, do I have enough space? Okay. So we have our head on the floor, our feet are out, and our arms are out. And then we bring our feet down, we untuck the head, and so when I do this, then I kind of sit up to untuck the head, so that then when I go back, then I can use this momentum to then bring my feet up and back. Okay? So Chakrasana, we are rolling, it's like a backward roll that we land in either Chaturanga or Downward Dog, depending on who your teacher is. Yeah? Okay, so we roll, place the hands like bunny ears, and then shoot the feet back. Okay, let's try it. Okay. Okay, so then we are either in our downward facing or we land in Chaturanga. Yeah. You kind of just have to go for it, and the faster you do it, the more momentum that you have, then the easier it's gonna be. And also, if you do it on a hard floor, you might kind of hit your head like I just. If you're coming up from a less high position, you have less chance of hitting your head. So if you want to try it again, and you want to try it from from the straight hands and feet. Okay, so then we kind of just roll, and then we don't hit our head as hard. Yeah. Okay. So from there we move into headstand. So ideally we would be in our downward dog, and then we would go directly into headstand. So we bring our arms down onto our forearms. So the way that we can check the positioning of our arms is we can go and grab onto each elbow, put them on the floor, and then bring our hands together from there. And I actually usually uncross my pinkies so that both pinkies are flat on the ground instead of having them crossed. But when they're crossed, then one is pushing on the other and it kind of hurts. Okay, and my eyebrows itchy. Okay, and so from there, then we take our head and we put it down on the floor between the hands, and we would already be in our kind of downward dog from here, and then we're going to slowly just lift the feet up off of the floor into our headstand. And again, there is some discrepancy you might find around how long do we hold our headstand. So I think technically it's supposed to be 25 breaths here. For the purpose of this, we will just hold it for a little bit longer. If you want to pause and you want to do it for the 25 breaths, that's totally fine. Usually I do 15 here. Sometimes I do 25 here, depending on how I feel. So you want to be looking at the nose if possible. You can also close the eyes and just really enjoy the meditation there. Yeah. And so from here, then we flex our feet, and we're gonna kind of start to arch the back a little bit as you bring the toes down toward the floor. So we're arching to kind of counterbalance the feet. So bringing the butt back a little bit so that it helps to find this kind of like L position. And again, we have to feel out where it is. So I think that usually when I can kind of see my toes out of the corner of my eye, if I'm looking straight, is generally straight or generally in my proper L. But I don't even know, I can't see it right now. So, and then here we hold for 10 breaths, I believe. And then once we get to our 10 breaths, then we inhale and we come back to our headstand. And then exhale and bring the feet all the way down to the floor. Then we bring the knees down and rest the head down. I like to bring the arms behind the back. And we stay here for 5 breaths so that we don't get dizzy. Basically, we've just been inverted for quite a while if we're doing it properly. So we allow the blood direction to kind of even out a little bit. Okay, and then we're going to reach the arms forward. And from here, we're going to come into a chaturanga. Inhale to forward facing. Exhale to downward facing. And I'm going to jump between the hands, which if you know how to do it, go ahead. If you don't, kind of hard to teach. I mean, you just kind of like, so you want to be finding your floating position. So when you jump up, you kind of want to be pulling back on the shoulders and then crossing the legs and coming into a seated position. I'll try to think of a better way to teach that a different time. But for the purpose of this, if you know how to do it, just go ahead and do it. Okay, so coming up onto the toes and then jumping through and bringing the feet down. Okay, and from here we are finding our Padmasana. So taking our right foot. So in Ashtanga, then always our right foot is going first. If you are not a strict Ashtangi, then you can change them. I always do my right foot. Okay, so taking the right foot up to the hip, taking the left foot up to the hip, and then we're going to take our left hand back first and grab a hold of the left foot with the left hand. And then we take our right hand and grab a hold of the right foot with the right hand. And then we're going to fold forward. Good. So bringing now our chin down to the floor. And so now maybe you see why I said to be prepared in the body, right? And so from here, then we will hold for 10 breaths. And again, different teachers might say different things. The way I learned it is that we're kind of relaxing for these 10 breaths. And then once we get our 10 breaths, then we're going to inhale and come up. And then we keep our Padmasana here. I'm not holding it for the full thing because I can see that my camera battery is about to die. So then from here, we're taking our hands and we're bringing them in Gyan Mudra. Okay, so we're connecting our pointer finger to our thumb and we're bringing them onto the knees with straight arms. Okay, so this is a very active pose right here. And so now what we're doing here is we're squeezing Mula Bandha. So we're squeezing our pelvic floor. Okay, so like if you're trying to like stop your pee flow, that's what you want to squeeze. So squeezing that, and then we're squeezing, this is Mahabandha. So we're squeezing all of the bandhas, or the 3 main bandhas here. So we're squeezing our pelvic floor, And then we're pulling in the belly here as much as we can. And then we're bringing our chin down to lock the chin. Okay, and so then we're here and we're holding our bandhas really tightly. And we have 10 breaths here. We're holding the bandhas. And then once we complete our 10 breaths, then we go into the final pose, which is also one of the hardest ones. So they start us out hard and they end us hard in Ashtanga, which I appreciate, really. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take the hands, we're going to place them down, and then we're going to lift up the entire body and look at the nose, and then we hold here for somewhere between 10 and 25 breaths. Okay, so we're really engaging our abs here, holding, da, da, da. And then once we get to 10 or 25, we go ahead and release. And then we go into our final vinyasa. So from here, then we will bring the feet back, coming into chaturanga. Inhale to upward facing. Exhale to downward facing. And then again, depending on who your teacher is, you will either just go directly into Shavasana or stand up. If I'm practicing Ashtanga, will then jump forward, complete the vinyasa, stand all the way up, and then do one last vinyasa to take us to the floor and then take Shavasana. Yeah? All right. Amazing. So, hopefully that was helpful. So yes, this was for the purpose of teaching, not really for the purpose of practicing so much. If you would like to practice, then commit this to memory and then go ahead and do it. And also you'll find it in quite a few of my classes. Yep. Wonderful. Thank you for being here, for trusting me, for allowing me to guide you. Oh, with so much love. Namaste.